Let's do it.
Welcome to another episode of the Social Proof Podcast. My name is Donni Wiggins, business coach, real estate investor.
For sure.
I'm sitting here with
David Shins, entrepreneur, real estate investor, coach, dad, husband.
and failure.
And failure.
And failure.
For sure.
What a failure you are.
What a hypocrite you are.
Because am I the pot calling the kettle black?
Yes, because you tell people if something's not working out, you don't just settle.
You don't just settle.
And we did just that.
We did just that.
Bruh.
Wow. Birds of a feather.
For sure. So
1000%.
here's the question, and I want your coach's advice. If someone is trying something, let's say we're building this independent conglomerate, and I'm a rapper, and I'm like, I'm gonna build it independent. I'm going my La Russell, Master P. I'm going that way. I tell Tybo, I'm a rapper. We're gonna build it independent. We don't need no majors. You drop a song and it starts popping.
It starts popping.
And then I tell Tybo, listen, you need to come on out because we independent. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Tybo, drop your album. You're going to do the same thing I did to get my hit song. And then Universal or somebody comes along and says, hey, we don't want you independent no more. We got a little check for you.
We got a check.
What would you tell them to do before Thursday? Before
Thursday.
Or Tuesday.
Before Tuesday, I would have said stay independent. You need to own all your stuff.
Own your masters.
You've already made the decision.
For sure.
So once you make the decision right. Ownership is key.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, then Tuesday came.
All right, let's get a backstory of what they're listening to right now.
All right. So you guys, David and I are hypocrites. We tell you guys not to quit. We tell you not to operate from a place of fear. We tell you that you will thrive in your zone of discomfort.
For sure.
You can't be comfortable with these big ideas and expect for them to pop off. So 2 years ago, exactly, maybe 2 or 3 days outside of 2 years ago, David and I purchased a building for right around $1 million. $975,000. We came out of pocket $400,000 or so. $421. Yep. Okay. We came out of pocket about $421,000. So backstory.
Cash though. Like I don't want y'all to think we went and got a loan and then played with the house money. I was like, yo, how much you got? How much I got?
Out of pocket.
Okay. So we have a company, and in that company account, through some stuff that we did, we had 200 in there, or like one something in there. And then I had to come out 125. You had to come out 125. The rest was, I guess it was the 15, like 150, 180, whatever that was in the account.
Yeah.
Come across this great deal. We're like, yo, we need to buy this joint.
We need to buy this joint. So when we were searching for the property, I really let you lead the charge on that. Mm-hmm. Like we were passing listings back and forth. I passed stuff to Dave. He would go out and really look at these properties because I'm just down for whatever, right? And so David calls me and he says, hey, I found this property. It's 15,000 square feet. I think it was listed at like 1.3 million, 1.2 million, something like that.
They went at 1.5 a while ago. Here's what's crazy. So this is before we get to this point. So this was 2023 we bought it, May 2023. Mm-hmm. Probably 2022, I saw that building. Look at them ham on it. It's weird. Couldn't keep going on without it. Okay, so I saw the building and I'm like, dang, this is dope.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my guy who is the realtor on that. I was like, man. They said, they was trying to sell it. It was listed for 1.5. And I was like, yo, I'll give you $1 million. Mm-hmm. This was pandemic time.
Mm-hmm. Pandemic. I'll give you whatever you want. Money was money-in.
So
during that time.
I'm like, yo, $1 million. I'll take it.
Right now, cash.
And they was like, nah, they don't want to sell it.
Dang.
So a year later, and we're looking for like, what are we going to do? Like, we're talking about like salon suites.
We're looking for anything that makes sense.
For sure.
So David and I come up with all of these massive visions. Mm-hmm. And I remember shortly before this contract, you and I were sitting first class on a flight. We were going somewhere. and we're going back and forth with these business ideas. It could have been a salon suite. It could have been an office co-working space. It could have been an event space. It could have been the podcast suites. We just needed an investment that made sense. We are ready for that next thing.
We had like 150, 180 something. We had 100 something in the bank that we didn't touch. We were just, all right. Well,
we didn't and we wouldn't. So that's nugget number one. Yep. We made money together. We did not immediately divvy up the funds and say, here's your half, here's this half.
Correct.
So because of that, and we had this money sitting in an account for quite some time, we wanted to invest it and let that money grow.
Yeah.
It was going to go towards something.
For sure.
Right? We weren't sure, but we knew that if we put our feet on the ground and just started looking, just started taking action, we would find something. So Dave calls and he's like, I found this property. He sends me the listing. And I said, whoa, I don't know about this. No, Donni, trust me, you got to see it. You got to see it in person. So I look at the address. It's on Cleveland Avenue. And I'm even further like, I don't know. In fact, I stopped at home and got my gun.
Yeah, and if you were watching the Young Thug trial, okay?
Yes.
That's their playground.
That's their playground, okay? So this is the home of...
Yeah, you know what's so bad, too? You know Aristotle's from Atlanta.
Yeah.
I said it to Aristotle, and he was like, Cleveland Avenue.
Don't do it.
I was like, and he's from the real hood.
Aristotle grew up right in that area. He's like, you sure? Right? And so when I saw the address and I put it in the GPS, I literally stopped at home and got my gun. Well, I'm not going over there unstrapped. We're not going strapless right there, right? Mm-hmm. So I go, we pull up. And as soon as I pull up on the property, Dave's already there. As soon as I pull up on the property, there's this feeling that comes over me. And I'm like, there's something special about this property. And we're walking in it. And at that time, there's all these bookshelves and there's still some paintings on the wall and things. And I'm like, this is the bookstore, the Christian bookstore that I grew up coming to as a kid. Yeah. Like my mom used to take me to this bookstore to get our Bibles. And I remember she gifted me my graduation Bible from that bookstore. And then my daughter would be born and she gifted her first children's Bible. And then she would go to high school and she gifted her another Bible. And I'm like, oh, this is meant to be. Do you mean I have enough money to buy one of my mom's favorite former places? Let's get the contract going right now.
Let's go.
It has to be.
For
Dave,
sure.
I have to take this investment that is now a nostalgic piece for me, right? It has nostalgic value. And because, you know, I'm an energy person and I'm always looking at things like it's not a coincidence, I'm like, oh, we're about to run this up.
Yeah. And long story short, we acquire it. We put the money together and we buy it.
Yeah.
And the idea to operate in it is just so grand. So we are, for one, the plans were like $18,000. That was cheap. Like to get the MEPs and all kinds of stuff. That was cheap. And you found that guy.
You're speaking industry language.
I'm gonna clear it up.
Okay.
So the plans, you got like MEPs, which are mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So you have to draw out the blueprints. But you have to have those plans to even start construction. You got to get the plans approved by the city, and then you can start building, right? So we're throwing out all the ideas to the guy that's building it out.
We had to find the guy.
To find a guy. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. You have to find a person who's like licensed or certified to do this, right? They have to have a great understanding of mechanics and mechanicals, electricals, plumbing, all the things.
Or have those people. So you have a guy that maybe ought to draw the plans. But the MEPs, you need a stamp. So you got to make sure that electrical works with plumbing, which works with mechanical, all that kind of stuff, right? So we had some quotes for $60,000, $40-something thousand.
$100,000.
Yo, at this point, this one guy was like, yo, we could do it. I got some downtime. I think he needed the bread.
He needed the bread.
He was like, yo.
I found it. I don't even remember where I found him.
Yeah. It was like somebody you knew.
Somebody I knew, relationships. Somebody I knew. Oh, yeah. So we had some people come by to look at demoing the property. And someone I knew referred me to this guy. And his quote came in at $18,000.
$18,000.
David said, for no reason are we doing that.
Bruh.
Because everybody else's quote was $60,000 to $100,000+. Yep. So David is like, No, I said, David, he speaks the language,
I'm like,
Jonathan.
yo, it can't be, bro.
It can't be. So I put them on a call together. David's texting me in the background like, run it.
Run it.
Run it.
Because we're running. So we exhausted all of the money in the fund. So all this stuff is coming out of pocket.
We were in Mexico. Remember, we were in Mexico sitting by the pool talking to this guy.
Bruh. Yes. And moral of the story, too, is this was $18,000. It wasn't that he did bad. It was just the story kept changing. It's like, no, I got to go get the person to get the stamps. And I asked you on the phone,
Yes.
does this include getting the stamp for like, which you need someone that's going to stamp it to put pretty much their reputation, their license on the line saying this is good, essentially. Yeah. But yeah, it was the cheaper you go.
The cheaper you go. I mean,
it took a long time too, bro.
It took a long time, but we saved a cool $75,000.
For sure.
We got it done,
yeah,
right? We got it done. And if we're being totally honest, so I'm tripping because as soon as I close, like David had said to me prior to closing, we should be able to get this project done like $200,000. And I'm like, bet, let's run it. We got the cash. Cash. What we doing? And
severe miscalculation.
Severe miscalculation. David started getting quotes for stuff, and then so he's getting quotes, and every single quote, no matter what it is coming back at like $100,000 plus.
Yeah.
I said, Dave, let me call some people. let me call some people. But even in calling those people, it just became one project uncovered another project, uncovered another project. In the meantime, we have an issue where this building that's supposed to be vacant is housing homeless people in the area.
Yeah, the unhoused.
Yeah, I can't keep up with all these semantics, okay? The unhoused is synonymous for homeless.
Unhoused or unalived.
Unhoused, homeless, aren't they the same thing?
Yeah, unemployed.
Not employed. Unemployed without employment. It's the same.
You can't call them
thing.
jobless.
So if you guys want to go in on semantics, have at it. Pay attention though before you do. All right. So the building at this point, we've padlocked it. Oh no, we have a bike lock or something on it. And somehow,
hold on, before we get to that problem.
Okay.
Let's go through these numbers.
Let's go through the numbers.
So again, we bought the building for $1 million. We're thinking, okay, I don't think it's gonna be this much.
Before you even go there,
bruh,
y'all, we buy this building. David and I make it our business to go meet all the important people in the area. Jonathan, we go to some city meeting down the street at that park. We're calling the officers, making relationships. We're going to the neighbors. Hi, we're going to come in and raise up the value of this area because we're building big business. People see us outside. They're stopping on the street like, what's going to go here? Big business. We've got plans for the kids in the area to come and take field trips here.
For sure.
We're going to teach them how to be entrepreneurs in this 15,000 square feet.
Look, it's our building and then like a hotel. Not a hotel.
No. It's a hotel.
Motel. Oh, bro. You just look at the place. It's just a nasty place to be.
Some transactions happen in there.
Our building, the motel, and then like this sex shop. So walk into the little sex shop. Like, hey, what's up, y'all? You know what I mean? We about to be your neighbors. I look to the right. There's like a little rubber butt. Little rubber butt. And I'm like, oh man, what's going on around here? I'm like, nah, it's cool around here. But then I realized that they get constant traffic from the motel. It's a nasty motel.
But a church is diagonally across the street.
Right across the street is the church. So we're just trying to get the landscape. And here's I think even we did like podcasts about it. Like we want to empower this neighborhood. There's crime, there's drugs, but we have to be the light.
We're giving everybody in this in this neighborhood an opportunity. Whatever need, we're turning it around. We're shifting the culture over here. We drove through the neighborhood. We want to see what the neighbors look like because we've got big plans for you.
Bruh, little neighborhood like across the street, and we're looking at all the homes. We're like, we're going to buy all this.
We're buying the whole block. It's a building literally across the street from the building, and there's a for sale sign, but there was never any activity. I said, David, that's ours.
We gotta buy that.
We gotta buy it. We're buying the whole block. The little guy, the man who owns the auto shop next door, he's ready to go.
He's ready. Come on.
We're buying everything on Cleveland Avenue.
We went and talked to the guy.
We
Remember?
went and talked. We went and had
He was
some
like something. He was like, did he say he got shot? Like we was like,
no, he said he shot. Oh, yeah, he had to shoot people.
Yeah, a couple times though.
So hold on. Because here's the thing. Now, when we decided to buy this building, so we're in the Creators Clubhouse, this building that we shoot the Social Proof podcast out of. David has an office in this building. There's an event space in this building. There's a few other podcast studios. So one of the things that had to happen in this new investment was I needed a home office, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, in this new spot, as long as we carve out my working space, right, I'm good. So we go to meet the neighbor and we're like, how safe is it here? Like, should we be good? And he's like, oh no, that was terrible. Like, I've had to kill some people. Sir.
100. Cool little white guy, just, yeah, I don't have to shoot.
No. Like, he's like, I don't know how safe it is. I've had to kill some people.
There's a lot of things you can do with $500. I mean, you can have a night out with your significant other. You could buy some really expensive shoes. Well, really nice shoes are about double $500. You could buy a course where you can learn something for $500. But I have something better for you to do with the $500. I want to meet with you every single morning for the rest of your life. Well, maybe not the rest of your life, but every morning, Monday through Friday, for the rest of the year. I have information and game that have allowed me to build a successful business, a successful community, and a successful life all the way around. But I want to share that with you. But the only way we can accomplish this is not me selling you a course, not me giving you a one-on-one consultation, because even with that, you'll get the information, but you'll need more. I want to meet with you every single morning. Now, would I meet with someone every morning for $500 for a year? And the answer is yes. Actually, we've been doing this thing since 2017. We have what's called the Morning Meetup. Every single month we have a theme, whether it's social media, whether it's motivation, whether it's strategy, whatever it is, we have a theme for the month, and every morning in that month, we have a conversation around that topic. And I am giving a wealth of knowledge, not only myself, but a lot of friends, a lot of people that you see on this podcast, they join every single week. So you need a community of people that you can grow with, and you need a coach. I'm your coach. The Morning Meetup is your community. Go to themorningmeetup.com. It's $499, and I will meet you every single morning for an entire year. Give it a shot.
And David's like, so when you say kill,
I'm laughing like,
he's dead serious.
He said, no, like, yeah, I had a couple little run-ins. I had to shoot them.
I had to kill some people. He had been shot.
Yeah.
He had to shoot and kill some people. And
this is our neighbor next door.
This is next door.
Yeah.
So then I told David, as long as we get a big fence.
Oh, it is a big fence.
All we need is a big fence.
And here's the thing. In this type of environment, this is where they need the most light. You feel me? This is what we have to change.
Yes.
So we're going through this process, right? So we start with the plans, we go through the plans, and then we'll get to after this. But then we realize for what our vision was so big, it was looking like, what was it, like $2 million to do the build out?
We went from $200,000 before we closed to about $2 million to build this out. $2 million.
Well, I don't know. It was we didn't think 200,000.
Oh, we did.
It was a few 100,000. I knew.
Yeah.
No. Because I was saying for this, it was like 250,000.
Okay.
But for that, it shouldn't be too crazy.
Not too crazy.
But after like looking at all the things that we needed, we're like, whoa, this was $2 million.
It was $40,000 to $60,000 somewhere in there just to get temporary electricity.
Oh, it was
temporary. So this
nasty.
building, we had to have it gutted.
Yep.
Somebody quoted us $100,000 to gut the building.
Right.
The girl, remember the girl? Yeah, girl.
Who are you talking to?
Who do you think? We're new to this, but we ain't foolish.
This is to take everything out of it. What did the one guy, what did we get it done for, like $5,000?
We got it done for $6,000.
Yeah.
And then we just had to keep buying those rollaways.
Yeah, the rollaways, $550 a rollaway, whatever. So we're going through this process and we're like, wow, In the meantime of us getting all of this, all these prices, our mortgage is $3,200.
Yeah.
Our insurance is $700.
Yeah.
So we're on the hook for almost $4,000 every single month, right?
Plus property taxes.
Plus the property taxes, which was $12,000.
Yep. 13.
Before we get there, maybe we could just educate them how we structured the deal, which I think is going to be helpful. They're selling it for $1 million, $975,000. We negotiate an owner financing deal to where we don't have to go through the process of getting the money from the bank. You finance the deal, meaning we put a certain percentage down and you finance the rest for 3 years with a balloon payment, which means if Donni owns a building and it's $100,000, I say, hey, Donni, I give you $30,000. You finance this other $70,000 at 8%, whatever, but I'll have it paid off in 3 years. If we don't pay this off in 3 years, you get to take your building back and you get obviously that $30,000 and all the money that I paid over these 3 years, you just get to get it back.
You get to keep it. Huge risk.
This is the bet that we took on ourselves. We said, we'll put down $400,000. They financed, we put down $425,000. They financed the other $550,000. Well, I think we were doing 3-year balloon, 2 years at a certain percentage, let's just say 7%. That third year was going to be 8% interest, which means if we could have literally been paying $3,200 every single month, but if we didn't get that other $550,000, they would take the building back and the $3,200 that we put up and the $450,000 that we invested. So that's a creative financing opportunity, but you got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's actually what we did here. So that's why I think even when I was telling you about it, you're like, bro, what?
What?
But we was like, oh, well, $550,000, we'll run a program, we'll run something, we'll get the money.
Here's
no
what
problem.
our mindset was. Now, together, me and David could have paid that $500 and some $1,000, but a smart investment doesn't work that way, right? We don't want to exhaust our own access to our own cash flow, our own capital to pay this off. So in my mind, it's like, okay, well, this other $550,000, the worst case scenario is we'd have to run a challenge. We'd have to create an offer in our joint company, which would have been something like a 5-day challenge. And maybe 2 times we'd do it and we'd make the $550,000. We have both done that. So we knew that that was a formula that could work. Worst case scenario.
I wouldn't necessarily advise everybody to do that though, unless you have a high income skill set, because you could quite possibly get stuck. And I think the stat was maybe like 70% of people that go into that engagement don't actually pay it off.
Yeah.
And you got to do some sort of extension or something like that. So, Tybo, we good? Okay. All right, cool. So as Donnie's coming back up. So we're going through this process and I think when we started to figure it out, like, yo, all of this stuff, all the big dreams and ideas that we had, it was just going to be too much money put into this building. And we'd pretty much be overvaluing putting that much money into this particular area, especially when this part comes up of how we can't keep other people out of our building.
So we can't keep other people out of the building. So David and I, for clarity, when we take the building, there's about 10 to 15 people who sleep outside of this building.
For sure.
Some of them were sleeping inside of the building. And so we go one day.
One person right at the front door, tent set up.
Oh, it was a couple. Crib. It wasn't one person. They were a couple.
Yeah.
Like they were together. They were in there and they had their tent. They had their shoes hanging outside, their clothes hanging over the tent. This is her stuff.
They was doing the nasty.
They were doing the nasty.
The homelessness.
In that tent.
The unhoused.
Okay. So David and I go over there one day. We go over there all the time and we just kind of let them be, right? We're not accessing the property right now. We're not occupying the property. There's no work being done. We had it gutted. There's nothing to damage, right? So we go over there one day and we had a conversation with Mr. Richard. If you guys go back to when we bought this building, you'll hear about Mr. Richard. Mr. Richard was like our property manager, right?
For sure.
He kept everybody in check. He was also one of the homeless individuals who stayed there, but we were paying him to like keep the grounds clean, pick up the trash, any syringes that you see on the ground, you know, just kind of try to pick those up for us. Any, like if there was crack or rock, whatever that is, if you could just keep that part for us off the ground, it's cool. Like we'll come by, we'll pay you, right? And Mr. Richard was holding it down for a while, but somehow the building turned into an auto repair shop. Mr. Richard had people pulling up with like 1988 BMWs, and there were a couple of cars that he couldn't fix.
Yeah, and there was a couple cars that was just sitting there.
So they became abandoned.
And they became housing. Meanwhile, the city is threatening fines if we don't get this stuff, you know, cleaned up.
So Mr. Richard's doing a great job. We go over and we pay him money, and Dave's like, yo, I just gave him money. I'm like, I can't come through and not give him some money. One day it's getting so bad. I think this was the first time we actually got the first fine. And we go to Mr. Richard and we tell him, we walk over to the hotel and we say, Mr. Richard, we want to put you up in a room. Like we want to get you and your friends and we want to get y'all some rooms. And me and David were going back, you know, tossing the idea like 30 days, 90 days, whatever it takes. We just needed them off the property, and we didn't feel good about making them leave and not having any options. So we walk over to the hotel to figure out what it's going to be. And Dave's talking to the people, and we've made it up in our mind. This is what we're going to do. And we come back outside. We're like, Mr. Richard, great news. We're going to house you guys over here at the hotel. And Mr. Richard said, I don't want it.
I said, no, I'm good.
I'm good. We don't, and I said, what do you mean, Mr. Richard? It's the winter.
Yeah, you don't gotta stay outside.
Actually, it wasn't the winter yet. It was still summer. We closed in May, so it's still summer. It's hot outside, but they went through the winter too. And I'm like, you don't have to stay outside. You don't have to deal with the elements. The police won't harass you. It's safe. Like you'll go. And he said, I prefer my independence.
And we gotta just put a pin in it right there, because that was I never really considered the fact that people who live outside prefer to live outside. I never considered the fact that, like, if you're homeless, it's not that you're in this situation and your lifelong dream is to not be that way.
Yeah.
I realized in that moment that some people prefer the mess that they're in.
Yeah.
And they've made a lifestyle out of it. And it turned my whole mindset, especially like coaching and things of that nature. Like you're trying to coach somebody into not having excuses, but that's how they've always lived.
Yeah,
I live with excuses. I want to keep my excuses. Nobody's taking my excuses away from me. So when Richard was like, no, I'm cool. I couldn't even fathom. Why wouldn't you want to just stay
in a hotel? And the only thing that we needed to make sure of is that we could pay cash, right? Because I had explained to David that I had done this years ago and it backfired on my credit card. Like the people completely destroyed the room and I had all these charges. So as long as I could pay cash and we could pay cash, it's totally fine. So they turned that down, right? So then we just started giving Mr. Richard and his friends just random stuff to do. Mr. Richard, just keep the weeds. They had a little weed whacker. It didn't get weeds up. The blade was dull.
He was doing something, and I was just looking at my man like, yo, this is a lot of land.
He was holding the grass and had like a machete, and he was like going through the lot, just like chopping this grass down. And we're like,
there's a couple acres, land.
It was 2+ acres of land. All right. And so he's doing this. Well, anyway, as time would go on, the police have made it clear like they can't stay here, and they started to arrest them to make examples out of them, right? They start to arrest them. So then they start going to the back of the building and sleeping back there so they weren't so visible from the street. And the back of the building becomes a disaster zone.
Oh my gosh. First off, one of the most impressive things I saw was when we were walking Terica through, she's like, yo, the center block is missing. She said, yo, I've been in real estate a long time. He said, I've never seen people like remove the center blocks from the structure.
From the structure.
She said, oh, no, they creative out here in Atlanta. So when we go in, we get everybody out. We hire somebody to like lock up the building. Locks, cool.
It's cold outside now, okay? It's cold outside. So we had the building fully secured because they had started going on the inside of the building.
Yes.
And we get it, right? Like, so one part of us, the humanity part of us says, as long as you guys don't damage anything until we start construction, house yourselves here, right?
First off, I never said house.
Okay. We did.
You told them that?
Yeah, I told them you could stay on the lot. And I said, as long as you don't damage anything, but when you start removing the cinder blocks from the building, right?
You told them they could just stay in there?
Not inside, outside. This was before they went inside.
Oh, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
This is before they went inside. So Dave and I are walking the building one day. We noticed that the locks have been removed somehow. They seem to have crawled in through the air conditioning. Like there was an external air conditioning.
We don't know
how they got up there.
They got in.
Because it's all the way up there. It's at the top of the building, right? It's like 12 feet tall.
Yeah, and then if you came in through the building, like the top, that's a far drop. These are high ceilings.
There are no materials. There's nothing in there.
I don't know.
So David and I are documenting the whole process. Every single time we're in the building, we've got our videographers and they're documenting the process. So we're in there this one particular time. I met you. I'm flying in from somewhere. We met there as I'm coming from the airport and we're in here. And I said, Dave, yo, where'd that ceiling fan come from?
I wish we were making this up, y'all.
The cool thing is we've got this all documented.
Bro, so we go back to the old footage.
I said, wait.
I thought they took everything out of here.
Because we had just had it gutted. There's nothing. There's no piping. There's no everything. It's nothing but ceiling and floor, right? And there's one like support beam in the structure. It's just one support beam. So David is like, oh no, that must have been there. I'm like, I'm staring at it the whole time like, no.
I'm positive.
They just had to forget that.
They forgot. And I'm thinking, let's get mad at the people that like gutted the building. How do you forget the ceiling fan?
Yeah.
We go back through some old footage and realize
there was no ceiling fan there.
That's new, bro.
That's new, right? That's new. Then we notice further up, there's like an area rug that's also now in the building.
For sure.
There's an area rug. So I said, oh, this is interior design.
Bruh, I'm perplexed. There's no power in the building. There's only walls. There's no power. How are you powering the ceiling fan? Why would you put the...
So we continue to walk through the building. It's 15,000 square feet, you guys. And there's random little knickknacks. And we saw that there was like some kind of generator.
It was like a little battery.
It's like a little battery.
Yo, it MacGyvered that joint. They connected the ceiling fan because it's hot outside to a bat. This was an engineer that broke it in here.
Oh my gosh.
Yo, this is a full engineer that broke into this building.
Oh gosh.
They got, they got the beds.
Mattresses.
They got, you know how like your son or your daughter will draw a picture of you like, this is daddy, this. There are pictures that the kids drew on the wall.
On the wall.
I'm talking about they're hanging like the paper
hung them
on the wall.
On the walls.
Oh, so this y'all house.
But not just that. This y'all crib now. But not just that. We move everything out because you're right. That's still warm outside. They put the ceiling fan up. We move everything out, and so we decide if we just start, one of us just starts showing up at the building regularly, it'll keep it out, and that worked for a minute. We had it boarded up from the inside and the outside, like metal brackets put on the inside, metal on the outside. This is impenetrable. Nobody's getting through this. You need a saw. You need a drill. You need something electric to get through this. Well, they got through it, right?
Again.
This is like the fifth or sixth. We're thousands of dollars in just trying to keep them out. Because now the problem is, remember, as long as you don't damage the property. Now we've got the cinder blocks. They've peeled the door back.
You know, like the roll down door, like the metal little roll down door?
Like a garage door? They bent that joint back. Like we up in here. We up through there. You hear me?
You're not gonna keep me out my house.
You're not keeping me out my house. But the straw that broke the camel's back was that they were starting fires on the inside of the building to stay warm.
Yeah, because we could see like the little smoke area and all that.
You could smell it. You could see it. They had apparently gathered there because all of the like syringes and crack pipes were around it. So this was like where they hung out, and they're setting fires on the inside. Now we have a real issue because you'll burn the building down, right? And now we have to really do something about it.
Yo, we didn't clean that joint out a bunch of times where we had to take, they were like, dang, we don't want to throw your stuff out, but we had to get somebody to come in there and take it out. We got the little bins and throwing the trash out. We secured the locks over and over and over and over and over again. And this is when Donni and I start to think.
We are in over our heads.
We're in over our heads.
We're in over our heads.
I don't think we have the experience to take on a project this size by ourselves.
Because we're getting hit from all angles. Yeah. If it weren't the displaced people who were breaking in the building every other day, it was somebody who was dumping abandoned cars on the property. Most recently, the last couple of months, we've had people dumping like 500 tires at a time in the back of the
They started dumping those tires, bro.
A company somewhere nearby saw it as an opportunity, and they literally were dumping in the back of the building hundreds of tires that we had to pay thousands of dollars to remove. We learned in this process that you can't just take tires to the dump. Our initial thought was to get a bunch of rollaways, have them put in the rollaways and like dumpsters, and you have to chemically dispose of tires, right? Because of environmental hazard and all this stuff. So
we got the fines from, like, if there's like trash everywhere or the grass was growing, we got it kept. So we got those fines. Another part, it's so embarrassing. Someone bought our building.
Oh my God.
At a tax sale.
For $14,000?
So if you guys don't know, if you don't pay your taxes, they will put the building up on the courthouse steps and people can buy that joint.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Donni
didn't get the notification. I didn't get the notification.
If we hadn't put this building on the market, we wouldn't have known.
We wouldn't have known,
Jonathan. If we hadn't put this building on the market and we're going through the process of all the things that we have to prepare for this sale, there's a redemption period that you get when someone purchases your property at a tax sale or a tax auction. There's a redemption period, right? Well, the only notice that we got was the redemption notification, and the redemption period was like about to come up. And so we're calling, trying to figure it out. Dave's calling, he's handling it. Yo, Dave hit me. I'm so like, I don't get stressed out about a lot of stuff, right? So Dave calls me and he's like, hey, technically we don't own the building anymore. Somebody bought it for $14,000 because we didn't pay our taxes, but I'm on it and we're gonna handle it. And I said, all right, cool. Like, all right, cool. Right. Okay. You got it, right? So Dave gets in touch with whoever, sends a check to the tax office, and we're looking. He calls me a couple weeks later. He's looking at an account. He's like, "Hey, what do you think this means?" Because the money came back in our account.
Right.
And so we're getting on the phone with the bank, and I think I got on the phone with the bank, and they were saying that the checks didn't clear, right? Because nobody endorsed them on the back. So a check that large, you had to endorse it from a business. It had to be signed on the back that says deposit only and the account number. So I think you're traveling.
But any check, you're supposed to sign it. So when they deposited it,
nobody
they didn't sign it.
They didn't sign it.
Which I think that they're thinking this is a game.
No. Let me put you on here. So Dave is traveling. He says, Donni, we got to pay these taxes. So I'm like, I'm driving there. We're not sending another check. I'm driving. I drive there the first day during business hours. Nobody's there. I think we got like 2 days left to make this happen.
Well, we have more time, but the point is, I think the company, they buy taxes. Right? You got a year before you get the 12 months or whatever before it's theirs.
But for us, we needed it for the sale, whatever, like for sale stuff.
No, they for sure.
We need it for our contract.
I think what that company did was they bought it for the $14,000.
Yeah.
We sent the check, deposited, right? But they didn't sign it, and they sent it back.
They sent it back.
If we didn't notice that, and we're thinking we're good, the time would expire, and then they would just own it. So I think, me personally, and Don's trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
No. So thankfully, Dave monitors the account like a hawk. Was this deposit? Was this withdrawal? Was this? Thankfully, because I don't monitor the account like that. I look, we're good, we got money, keep it moving, right? I mean, I notice like big stuff, but I don't look at our account. We don't have transactions coming through our joint account together every day. So I say, Dave, I'm driving there. I drive there the first day, they're closed during business hours. I drive there the second day, and I've got this cashier's check, and I'm in there and I'm talking to the guy, and I just happen to say to him, we're at the company who bought our property, right? Who bought our tax lien or whatever. And I said, hey, can you tell me what this means? And I showed him the back of the check. And I said, because we've paid you guys already like a couple of weeks ago, but you sent the check back. So what I'm asking for is proof. Can you give me a receipt that this was done? Can you ensure and confirm? And he's like, well, let me see what you're talking about. And I tell him that we sent the check in. I show him the back of the check, and he just laughs. He's like, I'm like, what's funny? And he's like, that's kind of how they get you. You have to put the check in somebody's hand, because they understand that like there's certain properties, I guess, that are on the board. Like we look like we can't afford the building. We've purchased, here they go. They purchased this $1 million building, and they can't afford this $12,000 to $14,000 in taxes. I think it's like 12 after fees, 14. So we look like, oh, this property is about to come up on the block. Let's play with them. They don't handle their business. They don't notice that they didn't get these letters. They don't notice that check didn't clear. Let's just play this game. They would have owned our property for $14,000, but David checked the account and I pulled up. What we doing?
So I I think they were talking about, it must be some clerical error. I said, I feel like this is just a shady, it was so they're just trying to, because if you don't sign it, they'll send it back, and then there's no record that we paid it, right? Moral of the story, all this stuff is happening, and y'all gotta understand, this vision is so big. Donni and I have an investors dinner. We realize how much it's going to cost. So we call our friends and we do this nice dinner, had it catered, shouts out to Stryker, had the lights real low, candles on the table, worked on our presentation, went through all the numbers, what it looks like, business model. And pitch deck. A few people was like, we're in. But this time, all this stuff starts to hit back to back to back to back, and it starts wearing us down.
We don't want to take anybody's money. Like there's just... It's just one thing. It's like after we secure the funding, or we didn't secure it, but we got a verbal I'm in, right? It's like, okay, we can breathe, we can pull this project off. But literally after that, it's just another thing and another thing and another thing. And Dave just hits me one day and he's like, let's put the property on the market. I mean, if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So we decide to put the property on the market.
I was the first person to quit.
Yeah.
Dang.
You were the first person to quit. And all it took was just a little break in your faith for me to be with it. I didn't hold us accountable at all.
Yo, y'all got to think, man, this business model is so huge. This is a $50 million, $100 million business idea where like we are going to run this play. Now we're still going to do it, but I truly believe that. What were you about to say?
So part of the reason that I was with it was because what we actually said was, let's put the building on the market. We weren't clear at first that we were going to sell it, right? If I'm being honest, I didn't think that we were going to be able to sell that building. It was just too much. Like if people knew what we knew about dealing with this property, it's not going to sell. So it's like, okay, let's put it on the market. Let's just see what happens. But in the meantime, we were still in the background actively getting quotes and about to do the work.
Yeah, because we were scaling back the idea. Oh, here's the point. We were scaling back the idea. So it was, we had some really, really cool use, but we're like, all right, well, let's just make it more of an event space because we don't need as much for that. It's like, we get the walls, we get the electrical, plumbing, couple bathrooms, we're cool. So we redesigned the whole space to just make it an event space, to make it cheaper and easier on ourselves. But we wound up just putting it on the market. We was like, we'll move forward, but if we don't move, like we'll either move forward or sell the building, whichever comes first.
Yeah. And
we had one offer that came in. I think the first person going to buy it for like 1.6 or 1.7, something like that. It was
1.7.
Under contract. We're like,
and it happened so quick.
It happened quick.
So we hired Bree.
Shout
outs to Bree Custodio, my best friend. And if we're being totally...
Let's have the conversation.
David didn't want to hire my best friend.
I didn't. One, I didn't know her for real estate like that. So when I say we're going to sell it, Donnie's like, cool. I say, okay. So my brain starts to find realtors. I talked to Terica. She's like, yo, you need to use my guy, Drew. He's connected. He's plugged in. I had the conversation when I call him. Drew, what's up? Here's the building. He's like, yeah, I could probably get this done because he's been in real estate for a very long time in Atlanta. He's like, yo, I'm going to meet you at the property. Let's just say this is Monday. He said, I'll meet you at the property on Wednesday. I called Donni Monday. Yo, we're about to get it listed. This guy, Drew. Donni says, we can't use him.
We can't use Drew.
I said, why not? He's good. Terica trusts him. Nah, we gotta let Bree list it. I said, I already talked to the guy for 30 minutes and I'm meeting him to see the building on Wednesday.
This was low-key the first major disagreement that we had. Oh, it was tension in the atmosphere.
I was frustrated. I'm like, bro, you didn't say you had somebody to do it.
I sat here straight faced like a mug. We gotta use Bree. And he's like, we need to use somebody who's experienced, somebody who's connected. They can get this deal done. I said, hey, Dave, listen, to purchase this property, we used your connect, right? This was your people. I already had to explain that to my best friend, why I'm buying $1 million property. And this is my best friend. The person that we use to buy it is a realtor, but he's not like a best friend to anybody. This relationship isn't on the line like that one. And I said, I cannot do another real estate transaction and not at least offer her the opportunity. And so I called Bree and I was like, Bree, I need you to get this done. I need you. And I told her, David don't want to, his little funky self don't even want to work with you, girl. No, but I said, I need you.
It didn't have anything to do with her, but like from my,
just the experience.
I'm calling realtors. I'm talking to people, right? And then I called, I said, nope. I'm like, bro, why you ain't just tell me?
I said, Dave, this is one I got to stand on.
Yeah, she stood on that.
I got to stand on it. Because I let everything, like I really let Dave make all the decisions, right? Like, I don't care. I'm going to go with the flow. How much? Just tell me what my part is, right? But this, I have to stand on.
Yeah.
And so Dave is like, well, I don't really think it's a wise decision. So, let's just give her let's give it a temporary time, or let's give it temporary, like let's give her 30 days. I said, Dave,
I didn't say 30 days.
It was like 30 days.
I did not.
Was it 3 months?
I don't know, it was a period, but it wasn't 30 days.
It was a short period of time that I
think it might
thought
be like
was
6 months or something.
No, it wasn't. I came back to you and said, after talking to Bree, 6 months. The time frame was unreasonable.
I didn't say 3 months. I know what it takes to sell a property.
No, because you didn't think she was going to get it sold.
I didn't.
No, so David gave me an unreasonable
only
time
because
period.
here's the thing. Because the guy was so confident he could sell it. Y'all got to think. I'm thinking we got money in the hand. He's like, he said, I got clients, I got investors. I think we can get that off. I'm like, oh, bet.
No. So I went to Bree and I said, I got David to agree reluctantly, and he's offering this time frame. And she says, well, it doesn't even make sense. Like, if I got to market this, I got to get it prepared. This has to happen. This has to happen. I need at least 6 months. So I said, just send the paperwork over. Like, I'm not even going to mention the time frame. Just send the paperwork over. He'll read it if he read it. He don't if he don't. Like, the time is the only thing, whatever. Just send the paperwork.
That's funny.
So I put them, in a group chat, and it started off kind of slow.
Yo, but let me tell you something about
David
Bree,
is used to seeing my best friend at my birthday dinners. We're turning
I don't know her for real estate.
We're acting a fool. He doesn't know her in that capacity. So this is different. And then here's another situation with a friend. Are we sure? You don't do business with friends for real. We've got an anomaly kind of situation, right? But we do it.
So, but let me tell you something about Bree. First off, what's her Instagram? Let me tell you something about Bree. I was a real estate agent myself. I've been in the space for a very long time, but when I tell you, she is literally the best real estate agent I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
Love Bree Simone. LOVEBRISIMONE.
Residential, commercial investments, ground up, new builds. All the things.
When I tell you she worked and worked and worked this, I'm talking about coming out of her own pocket to market and like her suggestions on what we need to do. Eventually, like she'll tell me to do something like, all right, cool. Eventually, I'm like, Bree, whatever you say,
just tell us how much.
Do that. Bree is, one, she's so professional, and two, she is a dog, when it comes to getting it done,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So we had the contract under contract for 1.7.
I think so. Yeah.
We couldn't believe we was getting 1.7.
First of all, me and David went to Bree and said, we just need to break even.
No. We marketed we were going to win, but after that one closed, they got out of their due diligence period. Before they cut the contract, that's when we was like, yo, we don't want to pay this $3,200 every month. Let's just sell it for what it's like. Let's just get our money back.
Let's just get our money back. Let's just break even.
Let's just break even.
Bree is like, absolutely not.
No.
I pulled the comps again. Like the first deal went through and it didn't have anything to do with the value of the property. What they wanted to do with the property, they couldn't get approved something within the due diligence part. So they wanted to build something that the city wasn't going to allow them to build. So that contract fell through. And me and Dave are like, Bree, just get rid of the property.
Just give $1 million. Let's go. We can sell that tomorrow. Somebody got cash, they'll put it down for sure.
And she's like, nope. I went back. I reviewed the comps. I'm confident in this price. Mm-hmm. And for clarity, the first contract she got within the first week or two, right? Yeah. She dug into relationships. At that time, the property didn't even have to really hit the market. She dug into some relationships. She knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. This is what it means to work with a good realtor. They always know, investors who are looking. They have client profiles of investors they'd be interested. So that's how we got the first deal. That one falls through. And maybe within 2 weeks or so, we get the second contract. Mm-hmm. But the first due diligence period was 60 days.
Yeah, so we had to wait 60 days. We still pay it.
So that means somebody
still people coming into the
contract, and we got to give them 60 days to decide if they're going to go through with it.
For sure.
It was like the 59th day.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yo, that was literally, I think that was the height of the issues that are hitting us back to back. And we like, yo, let's get our money back.
We got to go.
It was a good run. We just can't do it. And I do think we could have, but we got hit so hard from every angle. We're like, let's just get it. So I understand where an entrepreneur has a business and they're like, man, it's just not working out.
Yeah. Nothing was running smooth about this project. Now, David made a post recently that said we failed. And people couldn't understand why it would be a failure when we actually made a 100% return on our investment.
For sure.
We made our money back ×2, right? So we made a 100% return on this investment, which means we walked away with over $500,000, right? The reason, though, that this is still, and when we say failure, first things first, we're grateful. Yeah, we're grateful.
And, real quick, after fees, we paid like $70,000 in fees. We came up with like 400 something.
Okay.
Profit. Yeah.
So we're grateful, and yes, we came out better than we went in. But here's a couple of things. Number one, we fully understand that if we would have held on to that property a few more years, we would have 4x the value easily, right? Easily. So we understand that we walked away. That area is undergoing so much major change, and
the World Cup comes next year.
The World Cup comes next year. If we could have just held on, and we could have, we could have continued to pay. Sure. But we weren't just paying the mortgage anymore. We're paying the mortgage. We're paying for other people's bad decisions. We're paying all these fines. We just have all this stuff. And we can't even get the electricity turned on to get the fence to keep people from going on the property. It's like, if we don't get this freaking electricity, but we can't get the electricity without the right plans to say where the electricity is going to go. It's so many pieces that have to work together. So we understand that even though we made profit, we still significantly undersold this property. For sure. Right? Number one. Number two, for me, I had an emotional connection to this building. I brought my mom to this building. She was just so proud of her daughter owning something that meant something to her. We prayed over this building together, and she just couldn't wait to see what we would do with this property. Yeah. And then number three, it was that bright idea that just, it seemed so perfect. Yeah. We weren't in this to walk away with $400,000, $500,000. David and I saw a $50 million idea, right? We saw the inception, we saw the conception, we saw the build out, and we also saw our exit. Like, we understood that we would make $50 million from this idea easily. So to walk away with 400, 500,000, yes, grateful, right? And this is business. We made a pivot, but it still was nowhere near what we had envisioned in our heads to begin with. So for us, especially to people like David and I fail all the time.
All the time.
All the time. We fail all the time. But with this, we didn't even really get a chance to try.
Yeah, yeah. And I think one of the lessons is we are going, for one, neither one of us are like real estate developers and stuff like that. It's like we understand the game, but this isn't what we do. This isn't our wheelhouse. So like people say, oh, well, yo, you flipped it and made $400,000 in 2 years. That's good. But when the goal is so much bigger, it's like, did I really settle? And I think some people get excited when what they settle for is good enough.
Yeah.
I'm actually like pissed. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm super excited to move forward with the idea, but we've learned so much. And I think that's one of the things that makes us special. Mm-hmm. We are going after it.
Period.
Like, if we have an idea, everything checks out in our head. We are going after it. And I think a lot of people are afraid to take that L or take that failure. We'd have been right here on this podcast saying the same thing had we not profited.
Yeah, for
sure. And imagine, all right, let's say we sell it back for $1 million. Well, that doesn't mean we got all our money back either, because we paid $72,000 in mortgage over 2 years. We paid another $60-something thousand in cutting the trees down and, getting the plans and all that stuff, right? If we took a loss, we'd be right here on this podcast saying the same thing, just as disgusted.
Just as disgusted.
But I do want this to serve as a message for those who are really going through it. Sometimes we're putting ourselves through it because this ain't what we do. Mm-hmm. If this was some sort of mentorship program and I couldn't get my mentorship program to grow, we're not quitting that, period.
No.
Period.
If this were a building that had walls and electricity and plumbing, we're not quitting that, period. Right?
It's up.
There were so many things that were outside of our control, and the way that David and I work is like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out. We don't care that we got to get the city involved. We don't care about, we'll figure it out. It's going to happen. And so anytime that you have a vision and you're held up by things that you can't control, we don't get to see this vision in that space do what we saw it doing. And so for us, that feels like a failure. Not only that, real estate 2 years later is way more expensive than it was 2 years ago. So now we have to make a decision on, we're still going to do something. Now we have to make a decision on how big we're going to do this next thing. Yeah. Is the next thing going to be that previous idea, or is it going to be something that we cash flow to raise more money for that previous idea?
Sure.
We have to go back to the drawing board, and we're already there. We started touring properties before we even closed on this
100%.
one. Like we're
you want to talk about that? Hold on. First of all, I want to touch on something you said. And it wasn't these things weren't out of our control. They were out of our wheelhouse. They were out of our skill set.
Out of our skill set.
We just don't, there's somebody looking at that they do this stuff all the time, and this is how we navigate through it. We build it. Here's another lesson. So I feel like I'm so smart, and I say, hey, you know about the 1031 exchange, don't you?
Oh my gosh.
So the 1031 exchange says, if you sell a building, right, and you take the profits from that building and roll it into something else, then you can defer capital gains, meaning we wouldn't have to pay taxes on it right then and there. So in my head, I'm like, all right, well, we're selling this building for $1.5 million, and I called Donni trying to educate her, and I'm all wrong, but we're selling this building for $1.5 million. We're like, okay, well, we put $1 million into it, which means that $500,000 profit, if we roll that into another building, we won't have to pay the capital gains right now. We get to defer it.
Yeah.
Ooh, there was a lesson learned here. Okay, that's not how that works.
Wrong.
Let me tell you how this 1031 exchange works. And me and Donni had to have an emergency conversation.
Dave calls me in the middle of the night. Pick up, emergency.
The day we closed, I'm like, oh crap. Donnie's gonna be sick. She's gonna be bad. So the way to 1031, you have to do it before closing because they don't issue a check. And if that check hits your bank account, you can no longer do a 1031 exchange. But the other side is, if we sell this building for $1.5 million, we have to, and we get a check for whatever we got our check for, we have to roll that whole amount of the check into the next building, or we have to buy another building that's 1.5 million or above, which means we don't get our profits back. We have to put every dollar into that next for the 1031 exchange to work.
Yes.
And I called Donni, Donni.
He was sick.
A couple things going to have to happen. Either if this check hits we have to stop the check so we can do the 1031 exchange.
Yes.
And then, it goes back to QI, which is an intermediary. We have to stop the check and they get to hold it. But we won't get the money we put in back.
It rolls into the next deal.
So
what you want to do? Let me tell you why our partnership works so well. I think you might overreact a little bit.
All the way.
David is the overreactor.
100%.
And I'm the calm one. So Dave is texting me and it's urgent. Donni, call me now. Important,
ASAP.
urgent, ASAP.
Capital letters.
ASAP. He's texting me in all caps. So I'm nervous, I'm half asleep. I'm knocked out. And so, but I just happen to have my energy, my spirit woke me up. My phone wasn't even off it was on do not disturb. And so I pick up the phone, I see it, and I'm like, yo, and I'm calling him immediately. He's like, you sleep? Yeah, I am very much asleep. And he tells me what happens, and I say, okay. I mean, I don't think it makes sense to roll 100% of everything into another property. Nor do I don't think it makes sense with the short time frame in which we would have to do it. Let's take our time. Since this is how we figured out that it works. Let's now just take our time and just find something. And David's like, okay, cool. We can't both panic, and we also can't both lead at the same time, right? There's some things that Dave is going to be better at, and I just fall back. And I usually fall back most of the time when it has something to do with this real estate stuff. And then there's going to be some things that I'm going to be greater at, and I'll lead that charge, and Dave will fall back. Neither one of us try to be co-bosses. Yeah. We trust each other.
I was hoping you was going to say, let's just keep the money and pay them taxes. I was like, dang, we could have plans for that little bread. Get that bread.
Let's keep the money and pay the taxes. I mean, we can. I'd like to buy something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I like to buy something.
Okay, we can call them, tell them hold the check.
About the check?
Yeah, we can tell them to stop the check, and then we could just roll the whole check into.
No. We're not buying that. we're not buying that.
Yeah, because we'd only have 45 days to identify our property, then 6 months to close on it. But that's just too rushed when it comes to that type of money.
We'd have to rush through the process, and this time around, here's what I believe. I don't believe that the type of investment matters to us right now so much. I think we've learned so much throughout this process that now we just need to find a wise investment. So there are several options. The World Cup is coming up. We can get a residential property and pretty much pay the property off during that time frame, right? We can entertain things like salon suites or co-working spaces. We can entertain an event space. We can run another podcast studio this size. It would work too. Here's what we know. It's always going to work out for us.
For sure.
Yeah, it's always going to work out for us. And this is why we have the Social Proof podcast. This is why we have committed our professional lives to actually being the social proof. People take these kind of L's, right? And be clear, when you think you have a $50 million idea, walking away with less than 10% of that is an L. Yeah. There are some people who will put an idea out and say, this is what we're going to do. You know how you're told by your parents or your grandparents, you don't talk about it until it's done? Well, David and I talk about it.
Oh, bro.
We talk about it before we even start. We come on here and we talk. So we would have to eat a lot of humble pie. And we do it all the time.
For sure.
We do it all the time. Now we got to come back and say, well, those 19 podcast studios with that 4,000 square foot event space and that kitchen and that dressing room and that, we had it all figured. It was a glass entrance so you can see the street, but we're not going to actually see the street. We just want the sunlight because the street, we don't want to see the street. We just want to see natural lighting, right? So we're going to put this big fence up, and when you enter, there's going to be a lounge for our VIP guests, and we're going to have the receptionist over here behind a glass encasing. Go down the hallway. Every single studio is soundproof, and you can't hear anything. It's airtight. We've got this person doing a podcast while this person's doing it.
We're still going to do it, so.
Oh. See, we be talking.
Golly. I was like, when is she gonna stop? Don't give away.
We be talking.
Sauce.
We be talking, but the bottom line is we make the decision and then we figure it out.
Yeah.
We make the decision and then we figure it out. Even if David and I have come on this sofa in situations where we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it. We told you guys about it, and it did not stop us. Yeah. We've had break-even situations. You hear David talking about the podcast summit where year 1, he was in the hole like $200,000. Mm-hmm. Year 2, you finally broke even. Mm-hmm. Year 3, you know what I mean?
Let's see. Hey, podcastsummit.com, go and get them tickets.
But here's the thing. We don't stop.
Yeah, we don't stop.
We don't stop. So maybe the vision doesn't happen the way you thought it would happen. Mm-hmm. But you can't be embarrassed about it. There's a message in there somewhere. There's a lesson in there somewhere. You can learn something. If you direct your attention to the emotions of being upset or disappointed for too long, because we were upset in a 5-minute conversation. We're not upset. We were disappointed in like a 5-minute conversation. But what happens with me and Dave is the conversation is like, okay, here's the realness. Here's the truth about what's happening. Here's how we feel about it. And then immediately, here's what we're going to do about it. And then we live in the space of here's what we're going to do about it. Not one time did we go back and say, well, maybe. Except for when the contract failed. But once we got that second contract, we never went back and said, do you think we're making the right decision? Yeah. What do you think? We'd already made the decision. Okay.
Make a decision. It didn't take us 2 months to figure out if we need to buy the building or not. Like, we didn't ask a bunch of people, should we, and all. Like, yo, you like this?
Like
Vision?
this? Let's get it. Let's get it.
Let's buy it.
Now, here's what's going to happen. One day, David and I, we stalk like Crexy and LoopNet and Zillow and all the things. And one day in a couple of years, we're going to go on to LoopNet and we're going to see that property listed for $8 million.
Yep. And we are going to be sick about it.
And we're going to be sick about it. All right. And you're going to be able to come here and say, those clowns, if they would have just held on for 5 more years, here's the truth. We had to make a decision. Do we continue to pay $3,200 a month for 5 more years for a property that we now have to put $2 million into? Do we hold those funds up right now? Or do we cut our losses, take what we can get, and move on to a project that we can be passionate about and like today?
Yeah.
And we wanted our money today.
Today.
The check still hasn't cleared yet. And I'm checking. This is the only time, Jonathan, I'm checking the account. Yeah. I've looked at that account every single day since that deposit, because I think they said it won't clear until maybe a week after closing. But just in case, because I want to pull my 200 out, right? I would like to see that 200 hit my account by Monday. You hear me? I don't know what Monday it is, but by Monday, I need my 200 in my account. I just want to see it, even though we're probably going to put it. I just want to see it. Baby, sure. I missed you for the last 2 years. I have missed you.
Yo, man. Hopefully this helps somebody, man. And listen, there's ups, downs in business. And I'm glad that we can come on here and talk about this, because we spent our whole career being transparent.
Yeah.
Wins, losses. We done had to come on the podcast and say, you know what? We messed up, y'all.
We messed up.
But if you never get proud of the losses, you know what I mean? Like, we're proud of the things that we talk about. It's a joke. It's funny. Like, it is what it is, because we know that night doesn't hit twice.
Right.
There's morning's coming. At some point, morning is coming. Night is not going to hit twice for you.
And this was a beautiful blessing to invest the new owners with. Mm-hmm. They were able to get this property. What did we sell it for?
1.5.
1.5. They were able to get this for 1.5.
It had to appraise something good too, because when we got that appraisal,
we don't even know what it appraised for, but we know that they moved forward way too quickly.
For sure. Once they got it appraised, and we kept calling Bree like, "Hey Bree, what did the appraisal come back at? What did it come out?" And she was like, "I don't know." But the fact that they didn't disclose it means, okay, let's get this thing on the road.
Well, and then also to that point, they had a 60-day due diligence period, right? So, because I can't do my next appointment now, I've already.
Oh, really?
So
we're here? Okay, cool.
I'm like, since we're here now. So let's just talk about the actual deal. So now we're with these new buyers, and they they're getting financing. They got 60 days due diligence period, just like the first group of buyers. And the week before, nobody even called me. I didn't find this out until the day of closing. Y'all didn't even tell me that their financing fell through.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know?
No.
Bree emailed you.
No way.
She told me that so their financing fell through. Okay.
I don't remember. Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on.
She said the financing fell through.
Call her on the phone.
I never knew that. I'm going to call her.
You calling her?
Yeah, I'm going to call her right now. The financing fell through?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I thought they were financing, and then at the closing, it was like, oh, it was a fast close.
Hey, Dave.
Bree, what up?
Hey, Bree.
What's up? What's up, Bird?
You're on the Social Proof Podcast.
You're live on the Social Proof Podcast.
Hi, guys.
The greatest real estate agent in the world. The whole earth. Okay.
So I'm sitting here talking to Dave, where we're talking to everybody who's watching, and we're talking about the deal. And I was just telling him that you told me. I didn't find out until the day of, but I thought he knew that the new owner's financing fell through just days before the closing.
Yes.
You did not tell me that.
Yeah, no. Well, I didn't need to disclose it.
Oh, I thought you did.
Oh, yeah, no, we took care of it very swiftly. I know Dave and I were kind of going back and forth about some other things, like the interest payments and things like that. But, yeah, I mean, it really, honestly, nobody needed to know. I talked to the closing attorney about it, too. She was like, did you even tell your clients? And I know I just kind of mentioned it to Donni because we were speaking. But, yeah, that ended up being an all-cash deal.
You know what? And y'all said it at the closing. It was like, oh, it's a fast closing because it's, like that's what happens when you do a cash deal. Yeah. But I didn't, and y'all said it, but I was like, I was just so happy to get the check.
So which leads
I didn't know that.
Yeah, thank you, Bree, which leads me to the point of now we're at the closing table. It's the fastest, I think it took like 7 minutes.
Right, it was super quick.
It was like 7 minutes.
It took longer to take pictures.
It took longer to take the pictures. So we're at this closing, and as we're walking in, Bree is like, yeah, I'm glad this all worked out. Luckily, the buyers were able to come to the table with cash. Yo, we're talking about $1.5 million. Mm-hmm. We're talking about just a couple of days before, because we closed on a Tuesday. That Monday was a holiday. I think their financing fell through like Wednesday or Thursday of the previous week, and they say, we'll pay cash.
It was Thursday, to be exact. It was Thursday that they found out. They had been going back and forth with their bank for quite some time, but Thursday it was determined that it was not going to go through. And Friday, they wired the money ahead of closing on Friday, and we didn't close to the following Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm so glad you didn't tell me that, because my anxiety was through the roof the whole time. And I don't know why I had such a negative mindset. I'm like, man, because real estate stuff happens all the time. I'm like, bruh. I wasn't even telling nobody.
That's why screening is so important. That's why it's so important to screen, even in real estate. I mean, in property management, we do it all the time. We screen applicants. But in real estate, it's very important that you screen your potential suitors to make sure that, you want to increase your chances of getting to the closing table and crossing that finish line. So that's something that I'd already done. I honestly already ensured that she had enough disposable cash to close that deal before we even entered into the agreement, because initially it was supposed to be half and half, which is still a substantial amount. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I had already verified that she had enough to close the deal cash. And once we crossed that threshold of the financing contingency, which was a month ago, she had about $15,000 on the line at that point. And I figured, that's a lot of money to walk away from.
Yeah.
So, I knew we were going to get there, but I didn't. I mean, that's not something I would normally disclose because it does cause anxiety.
Yeah. Oh, listen, man, that's why you heard, bro.
That's why Bree is that girl. You hear me?
And I'm sorry for not having faith in the beginning.
Bree, just make sure when this episode drops, I want you to watch this because the truth comes out.
Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, I cannot wait. Yeah, I thank Donni, and Dave, I hope I thanked you too. But I thanked Donni and said, thank you for trusting me with this deal, because it's one thing to be friends with somebody, but it's another thing for, somebody to really understand and believe that you are also capable. Like, we're not just friends. I always felt like, I'm very, very capable. I definitely felt like I brought the necessary expertise to the table. and some good contacts. But I just, I thank you guys for really entrusting it to me because, at the end of the day, most people know me for closing residential deals. Mm-hmm. So to be entrusted with such a special commercial deal or transaction, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you went crazy, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Yo, you wasn't in that conversation me and Donni had, but I talked to a bunch of real estate agents, then I locked in on one, and then I'm like, yo, we about to go see it on Wednesday. Let's say this is a Monday. And Donnie's like, nope. And I'm like, yo, I was upset with Donni. I'm like, when we decided to sell the building, if you already wanted Bree to list it, why you ain't tell me that before I went? She was like, bro, I'm not hearing nothing you talk about. No, Bree has to list it. And it worked out, man. And I'm so glad that she fought for that because I trust you on a whole nother level with real estate. And I'm always like looking for stuff. And so, yeah, man, you're my realtor for sure.
Hey, for clarity, you guys, Bree is one of the actresses in that viral video that we had from my birthday where we made the only man at the table pay the check. Bree is the one that was like, so all of these women sitting at the table and you really want us to pay some money? Yeah, Bree is one of those broke bees that y'all keep talking about in the comments, all right? Bree is one of them broke bees right there, okay?
Hey, look, we saw the commission line item on that joint. I said, Bree out here.
Bree is in these streets making money. And not only that, the very next day she had another major listing that she's talking about on, like just listing after listing, and I think another closing even since then. Bree is getting it, but this is why you can't judge a book by its viral posts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Bree, thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you?
You guys definitely reach out to me on Instagram at Love Bree Simone, and that's because I bring homes and hearts together. And at this point, just commercial properties, residential properties, real estate. I bring real estate and hearts together, okay?
Listen, she gonna sell you the land, the water, and the air, okay?
For sure.
Whatever needs to be sold, she's gonna wrap it up, put it in the contract, and we'll be sure to make sure, Bree, that your Instagram is in the description of this video as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Bree.
Thank you, guys. Absolutely appreciate you all.
All right.
So now that Bree is off the phone, so they came up with $1.5 million cash within hours.
Bro, I didn't know
and
that.
Let's just say that when I met them at closing, I said, Anyway, the lovely owners are going to put a flower shop there.
Yeah, for sure. Yo, here's what's crazy. If I'd have known that too, first off, she said they were prepared. They were going to do half and half. We could have actually financed that other half.
We could have financed the other half. Yo, we could have made more bread. Dang. Yo, let's buy something where we can just do owner financing for somebody. Let's just do that. Bro. We're literally a bank.
Yes.
We turn our money into a bank. And they have to pay the interest on it.
Yo, interest only too. Y'all got to understand how this. Yo, it's an amazing deal. Like, I mean, it's amazing for the owner. So the owner that we bought the building from, they did owner financing. So that 3209 was simply interest. Mm-hmm. That was 3204. It was just the interest, meaning we could pay $3,200. We owe $550,000. We could pay $3,200 a month for 3 years.
Yeah.
And at the end of the 3 years, we have to pay the whole $550. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Okay.
That's like the bank being the bank being the bank. But anyway, congratulations to the new owners who were able to come up with cash for this flower shop. They're a lovely brother and sister team from Colombia. Mm-hmm. And we just
sell flowers. It's their third flower shop, man. Shouts out to them.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're super confident too. They came with two listing agents. I feel like they do this.
This is what they do.
Yeah.
This is what they do. 2 other major flower shops, somewhere in Norcross, somewhere in Forest Park, all super large properties. And we actually need to learn that game from them.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah, man. Hopefully you guys enjoy this conversation. Mm-hmm. We will have many more wins and many more losses to tell y'all as y'all follow this journey. So make sure y'all are rocking with us.
Make sure y'all are rocking with us. And if you have any questions that we didn't cover in this episode, drop them in the comments below. If you learned something, though, if you took something from this and you said, you know what, I am preparing to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, and this opened up something that I never even thought about. This was a nugget for me. Let us know what that nugget was for you. But if also you can take the overarching principles from this conversation that we just had and apply it to your business. We need to know what that is, so we know what to lean on and what topics and conversations to keep having for your growth.
For sure.
Yeah.
Keep rocking with us, man. We love y'all.
Bye.
Peace. You just watched this whole episode. If you like this episode, watch this one right here. Click right here. You're going to like this one if you like the one you just watched. Check it out.